Well, good afternoon, happy stampers. How is everybody today? Oh my gosh, I'm a few minutes late because they are doing some construction work on our neighbor's home, and they're making a lot of noise. So please excuse that noise today. I apologize if they get really noisy, but there's not too much I can do about it because they're working on the side that butts up to our house. So, welcome to my live viewers as well as those of you watching on replay. I'd like to thank each one of you, and if you like what I bring you, please share this video with your friends. We have gotten quite a few new followers here. Both on my YouTube and Facebook. People are liking what I'm bringing you. So thank you for sharing, everybody. I truly appreciate it. So today we're going to be doing an adaptation on a flat card. I do swaps, and I had received a swap card, and she had used this special fold on a card, and I don't remember who it was. Otherwise, I would give them credit. But I thought, you know what? I want to do this and try it out and share it with you guys. So we are going to be using the Spotlight on Nature stamp set and dies today. Now these dies are all circle dies. I brought these to you before. We talked about these dies. So if you want any of these images in the stamp set cut out, you're going to have to fussy cut a little bit, but that's okay. You know, fussy cutting is very relaxing, and you can do it watching TV. So we're using that. We are also using the 2024 to 2026 in color 6x6 designer series paper. My colors I've chosen today are Old Olive, Daffodil Delight, and the in color Summer Splash. So we have our card base, and I decided that I was going to show you guys how to cut this card today. I normally don't do that, but I am today. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer. Usually don't put this up here. And I have got my card base, my standard card base, which measures 8.5 by 5.25. I have already scored it at 4.25. Okay, this was a card base. I had my scrap bin, so I am using it. We want to cut this down. So it measures 7.5. Okay, by 5.5. So I'm taking that off, and it doesn't matter which end you take that off on. Then we are going to fold it. So you're going to see that this end is an inch. Oh, I need a new blade. Is an inch longer, and that is your card base. So your card base is still going to measure 4.25 by 5.5. I'm going to want to score that at not quite 1 inch. I am actually going to score it at 15/16. And you'll see why. So I'm going to go and take that and score that down there. Okay, so we've got that scored. So we're going to work on this laying flat. I've got an old blade, and it's giving you that feathery edge on your cards. Just take a sanding block. Now this is an old sanding block that Stampin' Up! Used to carry. Perhaps you have one hanging around. If you don't have this, you can go to your local hardware store and get one of those sanding blocks that's used for drywall. I don't sand on white cardstock with that particular sanding block because they are like a reddish brown. And so now, as you can see, they're not as frayed. Okay, so we got that done. So we're going to work on this laying flat. And I forgot to cut a piece of cardstock here. So I'm going to cut this out. Our dimension here is 3.25 by 5.5. So I'm going to want a piece of basic white card stack that measures 5 1/4 by 3 inches. Okay, and that's going to be for the inside of my card. And like I said, I'm working flat. So I hope that this is, you understand it a little bit better. And this is going to go on the inside of my card. Just like that. But before, stamp on the interior. And I want to use the thanks and the butterfly. And get those mounted up on our stamps. Okay, and I have all 3 colors of ink. So you can choose whatever color. And the reason why I'm using that is because I am going to be stamping my butterfly in the summer splash. So summer splash, and stamp my butterfly over it just like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, adhere this to the inside of my card. Turn it a little bit. Add some tape, and that's going to the inside. So we've got that flap to the right. Okay, and we're just going to adhere this right down on there. So say hi as you guys come in. Hello, Janet. How are you? Caught me live today. Yes, you did. So I'm going to fold this flap both ways. Okay, I'm going to burnish it with my bone folder. I should have done this first. Fold on this fold line and burnish that. So this is still flat. I do this a couple different ways. I'm going to take this extra piece and I'm going to trim it down that I cut off my card base. So I'm cutting that down to 5 1/4. And remember, we're at 15/16, and I want to go just a little bit smaller than that. So this is going to be, we're going to do it 3/4 of an inch. We're going to make it easy. You can make this piece whatever size you want that's smaller, and you'll see why in a minute. Oh, I need to replace this blade. How do you replace the blade on your trimmer? Another little tip. You bring this blade over to the opening here. There's a little slot opening. And we're going to throw that one away. And I've got some extras. Always have extras on hand. What I do is as soon as I get down to 2 left, I go ahead and I order another pack of blades. I never want to run out of blades. I do not like fuzzy edges unless that is actually a technique I want to do. So now I'm going to take this, and in this opening, I'm just going to slide my blade right in, and it's just that easy. So I get the fuzzies again. So once again, I'm just going to file this a little bit, get those fuzzies off of there, and just remove those fuzzies. Okay, now I am going to grab my cut and emboss machine, and we're going to emboss this. And I am in love with one of our new embossing folders. This one with the circles, and I don't remember the name of it. Let me see if I still have. I usually keep the exterior coverings. It's the Dotted Circles 3D embossing folder. So since this is a 3D embossing folder, we are going to use our gray mat. And I'm going to see if I can swing this over. I discovered what I can do is I can just swing my camera over and do my cutting embossing over here. So I love this embossing folder. The reason being, it's got a lot of movement and interest in it. So we're going to take this and just place it wherever. It's not going to matter. We've got our number 2. Whoops, I don't want number 2 in there. We've got our number 1, our embossing folder, and our number 4 plate. And here we go. It moved on me. We're just going to run that right through the machine really quick. I know you can't see the machine entirely. Maybe when I do my cutting, I will move it over a little bit. But I don't like moving it too much because then I get out of my range when I go back over here. So here is what that looks like. Isn't that so fun? So we're going to put that over here to add some interest to that flap. And I'm just going to take my stamp and seal and run that on there and just center this, lining it up to the top of this one so it all lines up. So got that on there. Isn't that fun? So close up of that. Just so much fun interest on there. Okay, now we are going to flip our card over. Okay, so on here, I'm going to put some of the designer series paper and just put that right on there. That makes that nice and easy. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to flip it back over and set it to the side because now we're going to start working on some of our elements. And this is where our dies are going to come in. So I've got Old Olive, Daffodil Delight, and Basic White cardstock here. So you can choose whichever set of dies you wish to use. I am going to use, I want this one here. So when I say which set, you're going to notice it's got 2 sets, but they're opposites of what the designs are. So you just decide what design you want. I want this particular size, and I like that design. So we're going to have that. We are going to go to this one here, and we're going to use this kind of lacy pattern, I call it, there. And then I am going to go back to this one and use this, I call it the Starburst die. Okay, so I'm going to decide how I want these on here. So I'm going to use Daffodil Delight for this one, and this is the large kind of dotted die. For the lacy, not the Starburst, for the lacy, I'm going to use my Basic White. And then for my Old Olive, I am going to use the Starburst. So I'm going to move you back over, but I am going to move this over this way slightly. So we can do this. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, I'll move the machine back a little bit. For these, I am going to use my number 1 plate, my number 2 plate, my cutting acrylic plate, and I'm going to use a plain acrylic plate. Now, if you can get these lined up on here so you could do them all at one time, that would be great. We'll see how that works here. I think I'm going to be able to do it. Just lining these all up on here. That way I only have to do one swipe. Oh, that was a little bit. I'm going to cut this off so I can fit that on. Oh my gosh, much cleaner cut. Put that on there. Okay, and there we go. Take my top plate. I move this in just a little bit so I'm underneath the machine, and then I just take this, put it there, and slap it down. How many of you do that technique? I have just found for me that works okay. I'm not really fussy with my die cutting, especially if I haven't stamped yet. Sometimes when I stamp, I will use a Post-it note. So here's that particular one. Let's get these all off here. And here is this one. I've got to punch out a couple of those chads. Put those over there, and then here's the lacy one. Now I need this scrap of basic white yet. So now we're going to move over to our stamping area. Magic. There we go. So we have our pieces. I'm just going to take my fingernail, and sometimes that removes those chads. If not, I'll take my take your pick tool or my brush. These are all out. I've got one on here yet that's still being stubborn right here. Probably wouldn't even have noticed that. Okay, so we've got our 3 pieces here. I want to stamp this flower image onto the Daffodil Delight. And it all doesn't have to fit on there. And I am going to stamp it in Daffodil Delight. So it's going to be just a subtle image on there, nothing real bright. Sorry about that saw going. Nothing I can do about that. So we're just going to put this right on here and stamp. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, we'll put that away. On our old olive, leaves are green, but not always in Judy's book. So we're going to stamp old olive onto the old olive. And get those on there. And then, of course, next we are going to stamp our butterfly again, but we're not going to stamp it onto that piece. We're actually going to stamp it onto our scrap. And I don't want that scrap. I want this scrap. So we're going to stamp this onto the scrap, just like that. And then I'm going to grab my blending pen, and I am just going to pull some of that color. And this is really, really light. I'll pull it up to the camera so that you can see it. And I'm just coloring some of them, pulling some of that color. And I just want a little bit of a shadow on that one. So as you can see, it's mostly white. Oh, it's so light, it's not showing up on the camera. But believe me, that is a little bit of that summer splash. Okay, now this is where we're going to have to fussy cut a little bit. I'm going to just cut off all this excess. And let's cut here. And you can get as fancy cutting this as you want, as detailed, just depends on how much time you want to take. I think just going around the outside simply, leaving a little bit of a white border is fine. Okay, go here and around here. I'm going to trim that excess off. I have my scissors the wrong way. My charm was bothering me, so I flipped my scissors around, my paper snip scissors around. And now here I could go down into there. I'm just going a little bit, just so you get the feeling that it goes down, and then I will just kind of flip around there. Okay, so there we go with that. So we have our 3 pieces. Let's grab our card base again, right here. We're going to close this. And, oh, did I? Yes, I did this the right way. So this is the tricky part. Pay attention. This is it flat. Everything is flat, that flat. Don't fold that flap over. It remains flat. You're going to fold the front of the card over. Now I'm going to start placing these where I want them. And I actually am going to place these just like that. Okay, so I have the placement. Don't tape them down yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the edge of my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I want to place it on the back of these two. Now, if you want to go ahead and secure these two together, you can. So I'm going to just take a little bit of my liquid glue right here and place that like this. And I want this one going almost to the edge. Okay, I don't want them even. Okay, so we're going to place that right like that. We can go ahead and adhere this piece down. Do you know where I'm going with this? I'm going to turn this one this way a little bit. Just like that. Okay, so we want these edges on this flap, and that's where we're going to be putting our dimensionals. So I know I want them right at the edge. So I've got some small pieces, like I said, of the edge, which I like to use. Move that over just a little bit. And then this one will go right along here. Do I have the right edge? Oh, it's sticky on both sides. Okay, so that's what's going to adhere to my flap. Let me see if I've got, yeah, I got some of that covering on there. I thought so. Okay, so we're going to line this up again, making sure that your dimensionals are going onto that flap. And you can, like I said, this is a little bit farther than this. You just want to make sure that it does not go over the edge. So before I really press them down, I'm going to make sure that this works, and it does. So now I'm going to press them down. I'm going to take another dimensional and put it on my butterfly. My butterfly is going to be flying right up here, but let me get my sentiment. And I am just going to be doing the friend on this. Let me see. Dear friend's not going to work. I thought it was going to work on here. I wonder if I put the dear here and the friend over here, if it'll work. So let's try that. So I'm going to grab the Stampin' White marker of the Summer Splash. I'm going to do friend first. So I make sure I get it onto my circle here, onto my die cut. So I have friend, and I'm going to put that right down here. Okay, I'm going to clean that off. Easier said than done. Judy didn't bring her cleaner over. It's okay, we'll get it. Okay, make sure it's good and clean. Now we're going to stamp the deer. Once again, I'm just inking up the deer. And we're going to put it just slightly above that friend. Oh, that works. Oh my gosh, so happy when things work out. Don't you guys get excited when you're creating and something works out? We're going to put this butterfly, and look how great that fits right there. Okay, so here is the magic of this flap card. We are going to bend this flap back, and that's how the card opens. Okay, so really a simple card, and you can do all different kinds of things for it. I do have the card that was shared with me in my swap, but like I said, I lost the name, so I don't know who to give credit to, but this is more of a masculine card using our airplane set. Once again, flapping it open, and just like that. So that's another idea. So I hope you guys enjoyed this idea today. Make sure you share it with your friends. Let them know to come and join us every Tuesday at noon. And until we meet again, everybody, happy stamping!